Namaste. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon, everyone, all the participants who have registered and joined us today for this webinar. My name is Suresh Singh Budal, CEO of PATA Nepal chapter, and I am PATA Face of the Future for year 2020. We are delighted to have distinguished speakers who are the leading hospitality and tourism educators and thought leaders from around the world. We have Dr. Bottrill, Professor Chon, Mr. Sahid Hamid, Mr. Khem Lakai, Ms. Rital Rana, our moderator, who will be sharing more about the session and introducing the speakers very soon. On behalf of PATA Nepal chapter, I would like to welcome all the participants who have joined us today. So I have a short note for the participants, as you might be already known about the chat function and Q&A functions of Zoom webinar. However, as a gentle reminder to all of you, please use chat function to engage with other participants. Please do not submit any questions using this function. Since our speakers will be looking at the Q&A function, please use this Q&A function to submit any questions to speakers. So without much ado, I would like to welcome our moderator and hand over this platform to Ms. Rital Rana, the principal of Mid-Valley International College. She is one of the inspiring hospitality educators and leaders in Nepal, running Hotel Management College, and she is also the board member of PATA Nepal chapter. So without much ado, I would like to welcome Ms. Rital ma'am. Ms. Rital ma'am, over to you, please.
Thank you, Suresh. Namaste, and I'm honored to moderate this session. For today, we have 4 exciting speakers with us. I'm going to introduce each of them separately, and then I will ask them a certain question regarding human capital development post-COVID-19. We have allocated 45 minutes for the session. The last 10 to 15 minutes will be provided for question and answers from the participants. So please write down your questions in the Q&A box and let me know who you want to direct the questions to. So let's get started. Our first speaker is Dr. Chris Bottrill. He is the chairman of Pacific Asia Travel Association, PATA, and dean of the Faculty of Fine and Applied Arts, Capilano University in Vancouver, Canada. He oversees a wide portfolio of international projects for the school and builds partnerships in tourism and hospitality, film, animation, and design programming. In addition to his previous role as dean, Dr. Bottrill has taught many topics in tourism at universities in Canada, New Zealand, USA, and Austria. Dr. Bottrill has been involved with PATA since 1995 and has served in numerous capacities within its board, committees, and foundation. We are all aware of the intense disruption that has occurred as a result of COVID-19 on the industry and of the personal toll on employment for many organizations and individuals. This session with Dr. Chris Bottrill will seek to generate thought and discussion on how COVID-19 will impact human capital in the future and how training, curriculum, and HR may change. So over to you, Dr. Chris Bottrill.
Good morning. Thank you so much for that introduction, Rital, and it's a real pleasure to be here this morning. I'm going to make sure my screen is sharing, and then I'll get started. Okay, is that looking all right, Rital?
Yes, Dr. Bottrill.
Good. Great. Okay. Well, thank you very much for having me here this morning. It's a great honor to be part of the session and on this really critically important topic of human capital development. I, like everybody else that is either on this panel or is joining in, has great affinity to Nepal. And in fact, I spent my honeymoon there 28 years ago. I was back there just a few years ago at the Himalayan Travel Mart and conference. I want to thank everybody for the opportunity to join in here today. Also, just very quickly, I'd like to congratulate Suresh on being named the PATA Face of the Future for 2020. I thought what I would do today is just discuss a little bit about the situation we face, some of the challenges or changes that are happening for us all, and and to consider this notion of hindsight and what are we learning and what might we learn and apply to the years ahead. Just a few years ago, when I was at the Himalayan Travel Market, just less than 2 years ago, I got to speak about human capital development at that conference, and at the time we were discussing the scope of opportunity in the industry. The report by WTTC had come out that said that 37 of 46 countries showed a talent deficit over the next 10 years, and that we were facing a shortfall of 14 million jobs and the potential loss of GDP contribution of $610 billion over the next 10 years. Just to put that in perspective, that's 5.4 times the personal wealth of Bill Gates. Who would know that just this short time later, we were in this situation, and this is not anything news to anybody, but this notion of empty restaurants, lost jobs, and a world without tourism. It's hard to believe that all of a sudden it stopped. We talk about the numbers, and all of us know the figures are around 100 million jobs at the moment worldwide, which and a very large portion being in the Asia Pacific region. Hard to nail down those numbers. That's the kind of the numbers that are being thrown around. Airlines, as we know, have all been grounded, and without well, there's a return to domestic flights of about 40%, but of previous capacity, but international flights are still extremely low, all but non-existent at the moment. We're seeing a loss of about 84 billion, according to IATA, in airline revenues. And in case you're wondering, that's about 72% of Bill Gates' personal wealth. The confidence in travel has subsided significantly, with less than half willing to fly. And although they will, IATA research reveals that once the pandemic has subsided and it's declared it's safe to travel again, 61% of business travelers will resume travel, and leisure travelers will go on holiday again. But 2/3 say they'll reduce their travel in general, and about the same amount will travel closer to home and wait until the personal finances stabilize as well as the economy. So we all recognize this could be a while. Currently, the flight experience is extremely different, and training and services in the industry are also very different. And I don't need to go into the numbers. We've seen them all about the different proportions of staffing in hotels and airlines and so on, which sadly jobs have been ceased at the moment. I took this photo on a Air China plane, actually. Yes, Air China. Just heading out of Beijing, just a couple of days before most operators stopped flying to or through China, and already the approach to service had changed radically. It's unclear, of course, when airlines will resume. A few have made announcements, but we're still really waiting to see. But airlines like hotels, tour operators, and others have learned quite a few new things about operations, and these were not on the list of training and job descriptions before, such as social distancing, sanitizing, providing masks, crowd control, screening measures for guests, and so on. Equally, guests expect these services now from our operators, and so they won't travel or stay or eat if you don't have them provided to you. As OAG reported at week 27, that's just over half a year, there are slight increases in the number of flights taking place. So there's interesting signs out there. And the UNWT report released just a couple of days ago says that 40% of destinations have now eased their travel restrictions. Most of these are in Europe, however, and not so many restrictions have been eased in the Asia Pacific as of yet. In fact, as Skift reports, a new round of coronavirus travel restrictions are emerging in Asia amidst increases in various countries. So, as the title of the session says, what does this mean for the future of tourism, human capital development, and effectively the future of jobs? Well, we've known for quite a while that the future of jobs in the tourism sector is uncertain and going through substantial change. We all know that this little machine released in, I think it was January 29th, 2007, changed the way we communicate, changed the way we train, changed so much about our daily lives and about the industry. And we're already seeing significant changes in customer service with robots now taking a lot of these tasks. These little characters, they're everywhere. This one is at Taipei Airport. I like this one actually because you actually hold your hand out to it and it takes your hand and tells you how old you are. And it told me I was 25, so this is a particularly smart robot. But that little robot, if you look carefully, there he is. He's in the corner over there in at the Copenhagen Visitor Information Center. And the photo I took just a little while later. So the face of customer service is changing. Of course, they'll never substitute the personality of a destination. And as these two wonderful hosts at the lovely Salty Crown Plaza Hotel there in Kathmandu attest to, that can never really be replaced. And that interpersonal experience we all enjoy in travel, such as the service received here at the famous Hotel Icon that Professor Chon so instrumentally created, is and continues to, you'll speak to that in a moment, Kay, no doubt. But that's the kind of service that we aspire to in the industry and the type of experience that we get. Although things are changing, and this is the kind of experience we're seeing right now. So we've known that things are changing for a while, and they're changing quickly with new teaching methods, personalized content, digital providers. And in a lot of ways, COVID-19 has accelerated all of this. One could argue, as these contributors to the World Economic Forum say, that COVID-19 pandemic has changed education forever. So how's it done this? Well, the data speaks for itself, really. In just 2 weeks, 1 billion people on the planet moved to online education. Incredible that this was accomplished and facilitated through the different institutions. Large tech companies have increasingly become involved in online delivery of education and training for the workforce. Even before COVID-19, there was already high growth and adoption in educational technology, with global tech investments reaching about 18 US billion a year, and projected to reach 350 billion by 2025. Now, these are in language apps, visual tutoring, video conferencing, online learning software, and so on. And as the China Daily reports here, just 1 month before COVID-19 broke out, that Tencent planned to expand their online education since mid-February. And since mid-February, over 250 million full-time students in China were utilizing online technology for learning on various platforms, many supported by Tencent. Udemy is an American company. It's an online learning platform aimed at professional adults and students. As of January 2020, the platform, according to Wikipedia, has more than 50 million students and 57,000 instructors teaching courses in over 65 languages. And that there have been 295 million course enrollments. So while this is not accredited and it's not always recognized by employers, the kind of online education makes access to everybody much easier to gain. And as you can see, the ratings on this course for 10,300 students are not too bad. And at $16.99, that's pretty tough competition. So people have access to this. They can learn how to make the most of TripAdvisor, not a bad idea either. And as we know, lynda.com, affiliate of LinkedIn, Coursera, which combines programs from leading institutions around the world, all changing the education and human capital landscape, because we can access anytime, anywhere, on schedules. And that's changed the way our human capital operates. People, COVID-19 has radically accelerated this process and approach to learning across the education spectrum worldwide. But it's not easy for everyone. Many countries and emerging economic regions do not have ready access to internet, decent computers and good learning environments. In Asia, it ranges from 38% apparently to about over 80% in some countries. So that disparity is quite high. So with all this in mind, looking back on all the upheaval that has occurred to us this year and all the conditions that have shifted, while it's not been a year of expecting the unexpected, as is the title, because how could you expect this? Some things were expected, and in a lot of ways, the point is that COVID-19 has now accelerated what we were expecting. It's a question now of what we've learned and what can we do better. I've been teaching for about 25 years, retail, as you mentioned earlier. A number of years ago, somebody reminded me of the notion of a pause. It makes for such an effective way of delivering a message. Perhaps this year is about a pause more than anything else. As we saw these pictures circulate around the world, a pause has allowed our skies to clear, our views to become brighter, and maybe our minds as well. As Damien Cook noted in a very recent article on our PATA Crisis Center, the COVID-19 pandemic is without doubt the single greatest crisis in the history of tourism in its speed, scope, and severity of impact. And as he points out, as destinations and businesses start to re-emerge from lockdowns, the tourism industry must reflect on what this experience has taught us about the nature of crises to prepare ourselves for post-COVID future. He has some very interesting points, and this article is on our PATA Crisis Center, which we started quite early on in the process of this change, and we've recently launched another update in partnership with our industry connections. The PATA 5-phase approach to COVID-19 recovery, prepared with an association of trip advisors, sought to make serious, provides a rather interesting framework where we look at the decline of travel, plateau and planning, how to emerge from a crisis, domestic and regional first, followed by international. In the last webinar, Taleb Rifai said that it will be up to the individual countries to find a way out of the current crisis. He's quite correct. And of course, countries are at different stages of this recovery. So what do we do about this? It gives us a framework to look at and a sense of where we're going. And I just want to share some of the things which are available to help us in this unprecedented time. PATA has, in partnership with several organizations, has led the has helped prepare recovery kits for aviation, hospitality, tour operators, SMEs. And every recovery plan, although targeted at DMOs, have useful application to individual operators as well. They have a long range of issues for each operator, and they conclude with checklists. These are for tour operators, as mentioned, for hospitality sector. And these management tools, in some ways, help us prepare for what's next as best we can, with a range of specific detailed suggestions that can be applied for training and businesses. So when we look back and think about it all again, with a clearer, maybe 2020 vision, what will we have learned about our industry, our people, and what we can apply to and what is next? I think there's some things that might surprise us about ourselves and our people and our organizations, and I'm drawing to conclusion here. But some of the things that I asked actually our PATA executive, what did you learn? What have we learned? What could we think about? And they're rather interesting. We've identified leadership in our organizations. People have stood out, certain people have stood out. We've better understood the capacity of ourselves and our staff. We've learned to adapt, and we've discovered who can adapt and who can't adapt. We've understood our value and worth to others, learned how to be more efficient and who can be more efficient. We've begun to understand what it means to manage just in case rather than just in time. We've figured out that we're all independent globally, and yet we need to think, sorry, not things for ourselves, we need to think for ourselves. And we've also found out what video conference fatigue is. All of us, I think. We're all part of human capital of tourism, not just employees. What I would ask is, what have you learned in hindsight? What are the things that have emerged from your organizations? What are the things that help us figure out what's next? And what's the future of human capital, really? It's a tough question to answer, but it's one that is critically important. I want to thank you for the time this morning. I hope that's of some interest, sets a bit of a context for the discussion that we all speak to as we follow. And thank you very much for inviting me here today.
Thank you so much for sharing, Dr. Chris. I think it is all about providing safety now, like you said. We're also providing online education in Nepal. This is the education disruption that has taken place. Thank you so much for mentioning the pause. I think this year is more about reflection about what we have been doing so far in the past and what we need to do differently. So thank you so much for sharing that. Now, I attended one of the most inspiring sessions from Professor Chon in his visit to Nepal. He is actually the star of the industry. Professor Chon is Dean, Chaired Professor, and Walter Noak Foundation Professor in International Hospitality Management of the School of Hotel and Tourism Management at the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. In his academic career, which spans over 30 years, Professor Chon received numerous international awards and prizes for outstanding contributions to scholarship as well as teaching and research in hospitality and tourism. In 2011, he was honored by the United Nations World Tourism Organization with the prestigious Ulysses Prize. The Ulysses Prize is widely considered the Nobel Prize in tourism and is awarded to a distinguished scholar for lifetime contribution to the creation of knowledge in the tourism field. So Professor Chon, my question to you is, what are the crises and opportunities you see for human capital development post-COVID-19? Over to you, Professor.
Hello, everybody. Now I just unmuted. I didn't realize that I was muting. It's nice to be with you today. In the next 15 minutes, I'm going to share some thought about what this COVID-19 means for our industry, especially in regard to human capital development. First of all, let's define the terms. We are talking a lot about new normal. I mean, this is a new term we are somewhat used to. Question is where this new normal here will stay. I think so. I'm always using different analogy or metaphor. Some of you may remember in 1982, there was a big crisis in the United States with Tylenol. As you know, Tylenol is a painkiller. Somehow there were 3 people who died by taking this painkiller called Tylenol. 38 years later, still they do not know what happened. But there is a belief that what happened was in the supply chain of this Tylenol from production to distribution, somebody tampered the bottles of Tylenol with poison. Since then, what happened was all the drug industry adopted new normal. That is like what you see on the screen, a safety seal on top of a bottle. So unless you break the seal, you cannot open it. And then inside that cap, there's another safety seal. Now this became a new normal, but nobody says it's new normal. This is normal. So this is how I see our industry. Our industry changing. There'll be a lasting change out of this COVID-19. In all aspects of touch points, when you are traveling, you can imagine there are so many touch points in traveling to Nepal, in port of entry in Nepal, and during your stay in Nepal, anywhere in the world, there are so many touch points. We have to really think about what will be the hygiene and safety measures. The challenge we have is how we can communicate and tangibilize hygiene and safety. earlier Dr. Chris Bottrill mentioned of hotel icon. This is hotel our school operates. In fact, this is hotel I built since I came to Hong Kong. And since the hotel was built, hotel icon was built, it has been ranked among the top hotels in Hong Kong consistently. It's well known for innovation, new approaches. So in Hong Kong, industry is all looking at what the hotel icon is doing. Here's an example. Now the hygiene standard, safety standard is so important. You have to disinfect your room. You are cleaning the room. And then you want to assure the guest it is clean. So we identified a number of touch points in the room. You can imagine starting from TV remote control to telephone, anything the guest is touching. We never thought about, for example, imagine the back around the back of the door, around the peephole. You know, some people may just lean against that peephole to see what is happening outside. So you have to find a way to disinfect that too. So you have to disinfect thoroughly. Once we do that, now we started putting the seal, we loved care seal, meaning that before the guest who just checked in will break the seal, nobody can enter the room. So guests will be assured that it's clean. So we have to be imaginative and more innovative and creative. Our industry is always subject to some crisis. There was 911 in 2001, there was SARS outbreak 2003, but our industry is continuously resilient. It's coming back. In fact, this week in our school, we are interviewing the students applying to our school. There was a great concern whether or not we'll have enough students applying to our school this year because of the downturn of the industry. But again, this year, the competition for students seeking admission to our school is very intense. Among the students who are already pre-qualified based upon the exam scores, I realized that the competition is 20-1, meaning that only one student out of 20 can be selected. That means that our students and parents have a faith. Think about this, university degree is 4 years long. So 4 years later, definitely our industry will come back even stronger. As the Chinese word crisis, wei ji means, wei means danger, ji means opportunity. So crisis always brings danger, but also opportunity. Now, what does that mean to human capital? First of all, I am very glad that we are using the word human capital rather than using the word human resources. It's not human resources, it's human capital. Actually, I started using this term when we opened Hotel Icon. In Hotel Icon is the first hotel which used this term human capital instead of human resources. There are thinking is like this. Resources, what is resources? Resources are disposable. We have water resources. You drink water and throw away the bottled water. Or there's mineral resources. You drive a car and the use of gas, burn the gas. They're resources, but human are not resources, they are assets. They are human capital. That's why we started using this term human capital, recognizing this is the most important asset in our industry. This is not just lip service. We have to really do it. I think the crisis brings us to think about this. I want to share a very interesting case study about Phuket, Thailand after 2004 tsunami. As you know, the day after Christmas in 2004, the tsunami swept through Southeast Asia, all the way to Sri Lanka, part of India, and then devastated industry. Phuket was totally devastated. There's one hotel in Patong. They realized that it may take maybe 9 months to restore everything back. And there was absolutely no guest staying in the hotel. So every hotel told employees that we are very, very sorry. We have to close down the hotel, just go home. We'll call you when hotel opens again. There was one hotel GM who realized that if they do that, one, first of all these otherwise very faithful employees in the hotel, when they go home, they don't have any money. They cannot pay the rent. They cannot buy food for their family. So they have only one option is to leave Phuket, go to big cities like Bangkok and find other jobs. And then if they find other jobs, perhaps they will not come back. So they will lose all this human capital. So he flew to Singapore because hotel owner was in Singapore, made a plea to the owner. Would you please allow me to keep all these 100% employees on payroll? This is a crazy idea if you think about it. Hotel is closed, nothing is left. But he wanted to keep 400 employees in the hotel on payroll and keep them. He was so persuasive, owner agreed to allow the GM to keep all 100% employees on payroll. He came back, convened a meeting of all the staff. All the staff went to the meeting thinking that today is the day. Our GM is going to tell us that we are all laid off today. GM said that I have a very good news for you. First of all, the owner has agreed that all of you will be retained. None of you will be laid off. You'll be on payroll. We'll divide you into 3 groups. One group working for restoration, one group on training, one group on a paid leave in rotation. 9 months later, as expected, all the other hotels were scrambling to find all these previous employees and calling them. None of them were available to come back. They had to find new people, train them. It was very difficult. Only this hotel, 100% of staff were loyal. They're working. I spoke to a few of these staff members on my interview for my research. Some of these housekeeping staff or front office staff or custodian or busboy in the restaurant, they were looking in my eyes and said, you know, in this most difficult time in our life, our owner and our general manager look after us. Therefore, it is our turn to look after them. That was the attitude. As you can imagine, this hotel continued to be successful now. Among all the IHG hotels, I heard that this hotel has the highest KPI in 3 aspects. Highest KPI in customer satisfaction, highest KPI in employee satisfaction, and highest KPI in financial performance. So this became an exemplary case study. So I think we have to understand what human capital is, what the value of human capital is. Now it's time to develop leadership for the future. I think this is a very critical issue for our industry, especially in Asia. In places like Hong Kong, which has a long history with tourism, our industry was led by, at the beginning, by imported workers, imported leaders. Usually, if you walked into 5-star hotel, usually expectation was a GM in a 5-star hotel in Hong Kong or expatriates, Europeans, and second, all men. This was the expectation, but I think we have to change. We have to change, develop our own leaders, from homegrown leaders, both men and women. When we think about leaders for our industry, I love this picture. If you look at this picture, what is common among the people on the front line? They are all men, not even a single woman. They all look 60 or above in the age. This is typical image of our industry. Now we have to change. It's changing. In our school, in hotel and tourism management, the top students are girls, not boys. And this is girls' generation, definitely. I love this picture of our students. This is student leaders in our student society. These are cabinet members. Look at them. Only 3 out of 15 are girls, the boys, and all are girls. They are very confident. They are confident. Here's another example. In Hotel Icon, we are selecting some top students as elite management trainees, 1-year extensive training area. We are selecting top students. If you look at the students every year, we are selecting 5 or 6 students every year. Usually there are more girls than boys. In 1 year, there was no boys, only girls. This year, we worked very hard to recruit boys. Finally, we maintained balance of 3 boys and 3 girls. Now, I think this is something we are very excited that we are developing leaders for the industry. Last year, our school organized a very interesting forum. We call it Women in Leadership in Hospitality Roundtable by inviting our graduates, all women who are working in the industry. They are in the 30s and 40s in the age. They came and shared their views about industry, what are some challenges they're experiencing while working in the industry, and so on and so forth. And it was such an inspiring session. What I like about this photo is, if you look at the foreground, look at the people in the foreground. In this, this event was held over gala dinner. Usually the head table, VIP table, all the very important people, all these important people are men and older men. I think that symbolizes something about changes in our industry. Now, in order to develop our leaders, I think education is critically important. I would like to challenge our young people, just don't waste time. We have to continue to learn. Learning, education is lifelong goal for everybody. There are many resources available for you to learn. For example, in our school, we have something called Micro Masters in International Hospitality Management using the platform of edX. edX is a MOOC platform developed by Harvard and MIT. We are offering 4 master's level courses free of charge to anybody interested in learning. As of June this year, we had a total of 79,527 people from 198 countries around the world, including quite a number of them from Nepal, have registered for this course, which is free of charge. However, if they want to take the classes for credit, so that eventually they want to obtain a master's degree, they have to pay, which is a very small fee of $200 per course, which is a fraction of the tuition fee in our master's degree program. 2,161 people took all these courses, and 56 of them already finished all the 4 courses and graduating with the Micro Masters credentials from edX as well as Hong Kong PolyU. You can look up this on your Google. You can Google Micro Masters in International Hospitality Management, or simply look at Hong Kong PolyU School of Hotel and Tourism Management. You will find this. So I want to challenge you. I want to end my presentation with my favorite quote. This is my favorite quote of Eleanor Roosevelt. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Think about what that means. Have a dream. Think about how beautiful that dream is, and the future will be yours. I must say that I'm a man of dream. All my life, I've had dreams. Even at this stage of my life, I have dream. When I think about my dream for the future, I'm so excited. That really energizes me. Thank you very much. I'll be happy to interact with the audience later. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Chon. I heard safety as the new normal. And when we hear innovation, we hear hotel icon. Thank you for pointing out that when there's crisis, there's also opportunities. And what a lovely story about resilience and loyalty. I read Richard Branson when he said that employers actually need to take care of their employees and they will do the rest. And finally, I loved hearing about girl power. It is time for girls to shine and lead. Being a woman leader, this is so important for me. Our third speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Chon. Now we'll be going on to our third speaker. And he's always been a personal favorite of mine and is always seeking innovative ways in developing and solving the hospitality needs in Nepal. Mr. Khem Lakai is the founder, CEO of Global Academy of Tourism and Hospitality Education, which has trained over 4,000 students from Nepal and other 19 countries. He is currently associated with PATA as Board of Trustees, PATA Foundation, and Honorary Treasurer and Human Capital Development Coordinator at PATA Nepal Chapter. He is also the mentor of Nepal Emerging Leaders Program and Country Ambassador for the World Innovation Forum. Now, my question to you, Khem sir, is looking forward, what should Nepal do in order to revive tourism after COVID-19 with a focus on human capital development? Over to you, Khem sir. So you're on mute.
Thank you very much, Rital ma'am, for the beautiful introduction, and also allow me to share my little slide to go with the story. I have got just few slides, and I will go right to the topic of current scenario, since you asked in the context of Nepal, and I'm extremely proud to share this, listen to the leaders like Professor Chon and Dr. Chris Bottrill. What it looks like currently is that the returning migrants, the flight that should be bringing the tourists, now bringing the migrant workers. And of course, the first quarter, $250 million revenue has been lost, and we have job lacks in Nepal and in abroad. And also another most important part is that about 500,000 young workforce join the job, every year. And what will happen to that? And how do we make sure that they have access, fair share of access to new skill training and the reskilling and self-employment and entrepreneurship? These are the grounding challenge at the moment. As I mentioned that, where we would be receiving tourists fairly at this time, the trekkers, the mountaineers would start coming. But now we see this picture. This was a recent picture published in the Kathmandu Post, that every full flights are bringing migrant workers who lost their job. And what Nepal should do, that's the question. And both gentlemen already mentioned enough about innovation is the only solution. And we must not undermine the human resilience. Crisis has always been there, and tourism is the industry, it affects first and recovers the last whenever there is crisis. We in Nepal have seen this disastrous earthquake in 2015. People thought this is end of the tourism. And then right after 3 years, we had the historic number. 2018, we did not just meet 1.2 million tourist arrival, but then it was all blooming, and we were expecting to double that number by 2020, and here is the scenario where we are. And so this particular picture I jotted together in our lifetime, not more than 20 years, 2 decades. This all 3 cities I have personally witnessed. When we used to have this floppy disk, and that used to have 2 megabyte capacity. And then you couldn't even save a good quality photos, and then come the CD-ROM. And then now our whole computer capacity is in a little flash drive. And now you no longer need any of this because you could save a lot of those things for free of cost in the cloud. So every time there is a crisis, and the nature of very human will also figure out a solution. Although I'm not comparing this challenge, the global pandemic, as the earthquake, but I'm pretty sure that this will bring this opportunity that was very much required for Nepal, for the world, because we cannot continue the way we were operating. And so when I say human resilience, how do we address those 1 million human capital that are coming to the country? And what changed? I would like to highlight what changed. We have had extremely difficult change in terms of turning into digital platform, or online education was not recognized, not only Nepal, but across South Asia, and then many other countries around the world. But now what happens? So quickly it become the new reality, and digital platform become a preferred way of learning. And some of our students were stuck in Mauritius when I ask personally talk what they are doing, they say, oh, I finished one series of Harvard Online that was available for free. And then people begin to discover new way of learning. And that brings me to a couple of other most important points. How do we re-image our destination? How do we refocus on our priorities? And in education particularly, that Nepal was very, very reluctant earlier on. How do we install a system that we call a recognition of prior learning? Meaning, if your young migrant who went to Dubai some point of time, works 5 years, 6 years, and become a safety party, one of the supervisor in the kitchen, now he's back home, or she's back home. What offer you can give so that they can continue their studies and gain some qualification? Would you tell them that, okay, join the school and it takes another 4 years for your bachelor's degree? Is that going to happen? No. There's a system, the globally recognized system in place. And that's whether you call it in Canada, whether you call it in Europe, in Australia, it's pretty robust system where you do a recognition of prior learning, which is called RPL, something that this individual has already learned. How do we recognize that and provide a qualification and deliver this gap in education? That will be very, very important for Nepal to embrace and adapt. And another example in education, what we are currently already doing in our fab school in Pokhara, there are individuals who have dropped high school, and they will not have opportunity to go and do the university, but they can certainly go on and win breaks and learn skills. And how do we do that? We requested the industry to sponsor. Do you want? I totally love the story, what Professor Chon brought. The loyalty, you can win the loyalty by providing the support in the most needed time. And if these youngsters are provided a scholarship to do this kind of vocational education and life skills, they are going to be the most loyal force. They grow fast. We have seen in our campus. So these are some of the highlights I would like to mention here. And change of the preference. This is a beautiful Pokhara. I don't think anybody has seen Pokhara from this angle now, and it looks awesome. This is one of my friends, Aditya, did a shot from Stupa, and this is what Pokhara looks like. Okay, if we can conserve our nature, and if we learn to coexist, if we can value that Nepal's future lies on preserving the destination, preserving the culture and the nature, and this is where we will win. And another one, we must be aware about the product innovation. Why product innovation? Because now the new reality, the new wealth is health, and as they say, new luxury is nature, a new cool is well-being and a spiritual awakening. And then finally, people would choose. In my personal opinion, this train has already started. The mindfulness and adventure is the healing force of travel, especially after this COVID. So if this is all true, then Nepal can only be excited and prepare ourselves what it takes for destination to reopen. How do we train our people to ensure that the product is safe? How can you go on a trekking in Annapurna or AVC, EVC, and then make sure that the tea house that you go and spend time are safe? And this is where we have our opportunity. And my last thought, obviously, our Lord Buddha had said, and which is what I would like to share here, what you think you become, what you feel you attract, and what you imagine you create. So we have to create this favorable destination, keeping that in mind, that what world is looking for. With this note, what I would also like to highlight is that learning, now the workforce that you need in the hotel, the two most important thing is going to be, they are looking for somebody who learns fast, they're interested in learning. and the speed, which is called velocity. This velocity of learning is going to be very important. So this is how we as an educator have to switch our mindset, and then this is where our future lies. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Khem sir. Like you said, we attract what we feel. And today we have attracted people with really positive mindsets. I can already feel the positive energy here. Like I say to my students all the time, we can find the right solutions only by identifying the right questions. So let's see what questions our participants have for the speakers. As we are short of time, we will be taking only one question each for the speakers. So the first question I would like to direct, the question is to the PADA chairman, Dr. Chris Bottrill. Those learners who are already pursuing tourism and hospitality programs with mandatory internships, what should they do with most of the establishments either shut permanently or closed temporarily? Dr. Chris?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the question. And I saw the question there, and I certainly was would like to make that open to other panelists as well if they'd like to contribute. It's a terribly difficult question to answer right now. We, in our programming at my university, we are facing this precise challenge. The internships, the practicums are simply not there right now. This affects the ability for an individual to graduate. In my field, I'm actually oversee all of international education for my university. And all of our students are here based, or the students that come to us internationally actually must fulfill a certain number of credits within a semester to meet their immigration requirements. And I know that this is a challenge which a lot of institutions are facing around the world at the moment. So it's on two levels. It's on the student. It's certainly the most critical is for the student, and the second level is for the institution and for the ability to complete credentials. There is no golden answer to this question. There are different approaches that have been taken, such as different kinds of assignments and various other things which the institutions have found acceptable to complete the credentials or to meet the requirements. But it's not the same as that practical experience. That's such a critical element of our industry. And as I alluded to before, yes, we're moving to other services, robotics and various other things, but that human element is what makes our industry. And so it's a difficult question to answer. I don't have a golden answer. I'm sorry. I just, what I suggest is that we utilize our global network. We can, and what we've learned in this brief period is that we can cross boundaries. We can intermingle globally, and that's something we have learned how to do recently. And maybe there's opportunities in this virtual sphere to meet some of those internship approaches. It's just not quite the same right now. As others have mentioned, we will get past this, but it is a time factor, as we all know.
Thank you, Dr. Chris, for sharing. Professor Khem, you raised your hand, so.
Yeah, can I also complement what Dr. Chris Bottrill said? Agree that this is very challenging time for students, internship. I think in our case, our students were not able to complete internship were given some alternative opportunities by undertaking some work at home remotely. In Hong Kong, the interns are being paid, but our industry said, frankly, we cannot pay you. But if you are interested, we can give you some assignment and to help us with this project. So our students gladly accepted. Now, I think there's wider implications about the future, not only internship, but our students' career development beyond internship after graduation, at least for next couple of years. So I think in our school, we have been discussing a lot about this, and I can see at least 3 different implications. One is that we may have to really think about curriculum of our education, because we knew that there has been a great deal of digital transformation in our industry. Not only digital marketing through OTAs and so on, we know that, but digital transformation in everything, even in human capital management system, in operations, in financial management system. So with this pandemic, we are really expediting this process of transformation. So we are now trying to see how we can teach our students so they will be equipped with all the necessary skills when they graduate. Otherwise, our graduates from hotel and tourism schools will wind up working for the people with strong technology skills under those students graduating with computing degrees. So our students have to. How we do that, for example, our marketing course, we call it Marketing in Hospitality and Tourism, now has been renamed Marketing in Hospitality and Tourism in Digital Age. So it's all about digital transformation in marketing, as an example. This is one implication. Second implication is, in fact, our graduates are not just working in hotel industry, restaurant industry, or travel and tourism industry. They are successful in any industries. As educators, we want to see our students are successful in whichever the industry they are choosing to go. Now we are broadening this perspective a little bit. Now we are telling our students that you are learning hospitality, which is a very important tool. With that tool, you can go to any industries and successful. We have one graduate who is working for dental industry, in the dentist industry. Why this student went to dental industry? Very inspiring plan. She said that according to many studies, dentist is somebody most people are afraid of. They don't like to go to dentist. She wants to use hospitality as a way of converting dental industry. So dental clinic experience will be a very hospitable and pleasant industry experience. So if you think about it, that's a big ambition, right? So that is one thing. We are expanding horizon for our students. Third, we are teaching online. As Dr. Chris Bottrill said, that we are all teaching online. You like it or not, this will stay. Now, if you think about this, if you go to Harvard University for MBA, it costs about $60,000 US per year, tuition fee alone. It's times 2, 120,000, plus living expenses, travel expenses is 250,000 US. But you are taking classes online. Think about this. You can offer all the degree online at the fraction of the cost. I'm sure it'll work because you have to take classes online anyway. So this is something we are thinking of in terms of how we can go further. In our case, we already offer 4 courses in our master's degree out of 10 courses online, as I said. Now we have a plan to convert every single course, rest of them online. So everything can be offered online. So this, to me, is another trend that we can see out of this COVID-19. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Chon. We deliver the hospitality program at Mid-Valley also. And for the internship, we've also switched it to a project, a dissertation at the end. So I think that is the trend that is coming up. Lastly, Mr. Khem, there's 2 questions that are addressed for you. How do we address the current human capital who are frustrated? And may I request you to elaborate, new cool is well-being and spiritual awakening. So this is from Sri Subedi for you.
Thank you very much. This is also my favorite question. And one thing is that frustration is part of the outcome of every crisis. So I think what we need to understand is that when we treat crisis, we have to treat like you have just overcome a life-threatening disease. Let's say, I mean, it's a bad example, but somebody had a very bad 3-stage cancer and then chemo was given. And then finally they say, there's a hope that you have no cancer. And if you expect that person to feel absolutely healthy and gorgeous, that's not true. That's not going to happen. So post-crisis, we need to tell the truth to people that the crisis means it's a difficult scenario. And so this difficult scenario, and how do we turn this into your favor? Because the moment you accept that is what it is. The second thing, there's a theory where even a Nobel Prize was given, and it's called anti-fragility theory. Meaning, you see, if you see a plane crash, it's a very bad example again, but then they will do the investigation in such a way, and such a way that the future crashes are prevented. If you see Second World War, after Second World War, all countries came together to make sure that we will do everything to make sure that there will be no war in the future. So meaning, our what revealed, this crisis revealed one of the weakest part of even the strongest country. So my personal belief is that once we understand this fully, what it takes, we will be only stronger. We will understand that what are the kind of tourism we don't want to see, what are the preparation you want to do, what are the things that you need to do on a public healthcare domain. And this is why when people are unwell, that is the only time you value your wealth. And this is one moment. I can give you one example in Nepal. If you come and suggest the municipality that, dear municipality, come up with a system where spitting should be considered criminal offense. So meaning people are not allowed to spit in the street. What would have happened? I'm pretty sure that the larger audience would have said, what is this? What is where we are going? Why shouldn't we be aware of it? But the very suggestion, if you give it now, people will welcome such a suggestion. So people are also recipient to certain idea now than when it was given in a normal time. So that's why the well-being and our health, taking care of our immune system has never been in a forefront of discussion. We've never discussed enough about, of course, a few aware people discuss about what keeps me healthy, what can I eat, what is functional food, and so on and so forth. But that conversation all of a sudden now transcended to the next level. And then all of a sudden we all realize that even to be able to stay alive is a victory, you know. And so which is why the new cool is like in the past, people say, okay, some idea about the youngsters, their definition of entertainment was different. From now, I think a lot of people who can afford to travel will think about travel as not just as an entertainment, but as an education. People would like to go on a holiday where they want to transform, not just to go on a holiday and spend some time. So this is the trend, and when the trend is a new cool. So people looking after their health is definitely going to be a cool. Understanding the value of your life when your life is threatened, meaning, oh my God, you have got the most precious gift, that is to be alive. And all of a sudden you realize, and then people will value that even more. And so for that reason, I deliberately use this word called those things are new cool. And the destination that will sail or highlight these elements is going to win. This is my understanding, and I hope I did the justice to the question.
Thank you, Khem sir. Thank you for being cool and answering it coolly. This is all the time we have with us today. I know Dr. Chris Bottrill, it's 5 a.m. in the morning. You woke up just for this, different time zones. Thank you so much.
It's light outside now.
It's finally light outside. Thank you, Professor Chon. Always inspiring to hear what you share. And I think it's the richness of your stories that inspire us. Khem Lakai sir, always putting a perspective about Nepal and what we need to do. So this is me, Rital Rana, saying goodbye and namaste to all our viewers. Stay safe, stay resilient, and now stay cool. Thank you all. Thank you all for being with us.
Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste.